The world will be Tlön, unless you do not act like a clone. So this is another free article for everyone with love. Just being generous now. Quote, the language of Tlön resists the formulation of this paradox. Most people did not even understand it. The defenders of common sense, at first, did no more than negate the veracity of the anecdote. They repeated that it was a verbal fallacy based on the rash application of two neologisms not authorized by usage and alien to all rigorous thought, the verbs find and lose, which beg the question because they presuppose the identity of the first and of the last nine coins. They recall that all the nouns, man, coin, Thursday, Wednesday, rain, have only a metaphorical value. They denounce the treacherous circumstance somewhat rusted by Wednesday, rain, which presuppose what is trying to be demonstrated, the persistence of the four coins from Tuesday to Thursday. They explained that equality is one thing and identity another, and formulated a kind of reductio ad absurdum, the hypothetical case of nine men who on nights suffer a severe pain. Would it not be ridiculous, they questioned, to pretend that this pain is one and the same? They said that the heresiarch was prompted only by the blasphemous intention of attributing the divine category of being to some simple coins, and that at times he negated plurality and at other times did not. They argued if equality implies identity, one would also have to admit that the nine coins are one. Jorge Luis Borges, Tlön, Ukbar, Orbis, Tertius, 1940. End of quote. The world will be cloned. True liberation comes from questioning everything, even oneself. Today, we witness a conjunction of the North Node and Neptune at 28 degrees in Pisces. The last time a similar yet inverted conjunction occurred was with the South Node in November 18, 2016 at 9 degrees of Pisces. Looking back, I recall being in a state of deep illusion, disconnected from my own values, spiraling in uncertainty about my worth. That story is in my book, so I won't retell it here. But I reference it because this particular conjunction with the North Node hasn't occurred often. The last one was on January 18, 1858. This moment invites us to redefine our relationship with the narratives we tell ourselves, the fantasies we construct, and the ideologies that shaped our world. North Node and Neptune offers the time to reflect with discernment on where your values are based on your needs, thus assigning meaning towards a profound way of living. Although Sagittarius, Jupiter, and the ninth house generate ideologies, by the time they reach Pisces, they become embedded belief systems, almost spirit ritual in nature. Right now, with Jupiter newly direct in Gemini, we have an opportunity to question these frameworks, to re examine the ideas we accepted as truth. Since 2018, Uranus has forced me to step away from radical convictions, loosening my grip on fixed ideologies. My political views have been more openly expressed in the past year, yet even now they remain fluid. I continue questioning everything, whether blue or red, left or right, because I refuse to assign absolute value to any single position. Much of what we accepted as truth has been carefully constructed, written in ways that discourage scrutiny. Borges, for instance, masterfully illustrated this in Tlön, Ukbar, Orbis Tertius. Jorge Luis Borges, one of the most brilliant literary minds of the 20th century, masterfully explored the nature of reality, language, and ideology in Tlön, Ukbar, Orbis Tertius, a short story first published in Ficciones, 1940. The story represents a fictional world, Tlön, created by a secret society with the goal of reshaping human perception through fabricated knowledge. What begins as an obscure intellectual curiosity slowly infiltrates human thought, replacing reality with a meticulously constructed but entirely fictional world. Borges anticipated the mechanism of mass manipulation and ideological conditioning, showing how civilizations adopt false realities as truth when presented with a coherent, authoritative narrative. The story is not just a literary experiment, it is a warning. It eerily mirrors our time, where digital information, ideological agendas, and institutional narratives hold the power to override reality itself. Borges understood that whoever controls perception controls reality. In Tlön, reality is not merely rewritten, it is erased, replaced by a world where subjective belief supersedes material existence. As Borges famously concludes, the world will be Tlön, signaling that the real danger is not in the existence of false narratives, but in our willingness to accept them as truth. We see this happening today. Ideologies have become so powerful that they distort perception, making people blind to what it is in front of them. When narratives replace truth, questioning becomes an act of defiance. In this world, reality is subjective, logic is rewritten, and over time, fabricated ideas infiltrate society until Tlon becomes the only recognized truth. Ding dong! Are you still holding on to beliefs you once thought were absolute truths? Have you questioned them? In today's world of extreme polarization, where discussions on gender, identity, and natural law are becoming battlegrounds, these questions matter more than ever. I recently read a post by an astrologer who, like many in that field, subscribes to a highly ideological worldview. It's interesting to me how so many astrologers lean towards the woke perspective, clinging to belief systems that give them a sense of certainty. But I remind myself and you, the reader, that whatever I write is my own evolving perspective. It is not an absolute. My views shift as I continue to question. This astrologer recently claimed that Chiron in Aries is about toxic masculinity. I couldn't help but laugh. While early feminism sought to empower women, later interactions have weaponized gender dynamics, undermining both men and women. Toxic masculinity is a fabricated concept born out of a toxic feminism. What was once used to describe extreme aggression now has been twisted into an attack of masculinity itself, branding natural male traits, strength, leadership, and protection as harmful. This narrative has not only emasculated men, but also distorted the natural balance between masculine and feminine energy, leading to widespread confusion about identity, purpose, and relationships. Men do not hate women, period. What they reject is the feminist agenda that undermines their role as protectors, providers, and fathers. Feminist women, on the other hand, often seem to resent femininity itself, rejecting motherhood, sneering at traditional family structures, and pushing ideological division rather than harmony. They have weaponized the gender, distorting natural law, and promoting the illusion that men and women are interchangeable rather than complementary. Chiron in Aries is not just a wound for men to heal. It is an opportunity for everyone, including hardcore feminists, to understand the role of yang energy within themselves. This is not about erasing masculinity, but integrating it with the yin energy rather than opposing it. Aries and Cancer form a natural square. Action versus nurture. A tension that must be resolved, not fought. The same goes for Capricorn and Libra, where structure and relationships demand balance. Chinese cosmology teaches us that the answer is never simply A or B, masculine or feminine. It is the synthesis that emerges in the present moment. Feminism has rejected this, seeking destruction over integration, leaving both men and women disconnected from their essence. To move forward, we must restore the natural order, where masculinity and femininity, yang yin, and me versus them coexist in harmony, not in conflict. Being in conflict, when it emerges from inquiry, leads to mutation, and mutation brings evolutionary blossoms. This is what I express in response to someone who made a rigid ideological argument, but I don't expect you to take my words as truth either. I challenge you to check your own biases. If you are someone with agency, do not blindly accept narratives, whether from me, from institutions, or from the world around you. Reality, as we perceive it, is being rewritten. We're living through an era where the very foundation of what we believe is being dismantled. If money, the core structure of our civilization has been an illusion manipulated for control, then what else have we been conditioned to believe? From education to politics to social movements, corruption seeps into every corner. When something is tainted, you don't ignore it. You put on gloves and start cleaning. And that's where we are right now, cleaning up the wreckage of ideology, stripping away the illusions, and reclaiming our right to think freely. Because if we don't, the world won't just be cloned, the world will be cloned. Quote: the geometry of Tlön compromises two somewhat different disciplines, the visual and the tactile. The latter corresponds to our own geometry and it is subordinated to the first. The basis of visual geometry is the surface, not the point. The geometry disregards parallel lines and declares that man, in his movement, modifies the forms which surround him. The basis of its arithmetic is the notion of indefinite numbers. They emphasize the importance of the concept of greater and lesser, which our mathematicians symbolize as minus and more. Well, two graphs there. They maintain that the operation of counting modifies the quantities and converts them from indefinite into definite sums. The fact that several individuals who count the same quantity will obtain the same result is, for the psychologist, an example of association of ideas or of a good exercise of memory. We already know that in Tlön, the subject of knowledge is on and eternal. José Luis Borges, Tlön, Ukbar, and Orbis Tertius. Ding dong! The 0 point of Aries. Venus has just entered Aries, marking a crucial 0-degree moment, a complete reset, a raw beginning, an initiation into something entirely new. At this threshold, we are called to start fresh, to strip away the layers of illusion we've carried, and to return to the fundamental principles of existence. What is the essence of humanity? What does it mean to begin again? Pisces, the sign preceding Aries, has spent its time dissolving, forgiving, and letting go. But the question is, have you truly let go? Have you taken the last 5 years, especially since 2020, to question the narratives you've been given? Or are you still clinging to belief systems that have been fed to you without ever stepping back to re examine them? Ding dong! Ask yourself, are you still trusting the government? Are you still trusting institutions that have been proven to deceive? Are you holding on to beliefs out of emotional attachment rather than truth? For many, the inability to let go stems from personal experiences. A friend whose parents died during the crisis, a child who wants to transition, a past that feels so painful to question. But are you stepping back far enough to see the bigger picture? Or are you only holding on to these narratives because they are tied to your own heart, preventing you from seeing beyond them? This moment, the 0 degree of Aries demands clarity. It demands that we ground ourselves in reality rather than illusions. Stand up, feel your feet on the ground. Ask yourself, is what I see truly what it is? Or have I only been conditioned to see it this way? If I shift my position, my perspective, my understanding, what changes? This practice extends beyond ideology. It applies to everything in our daily lives. We read something outrageous and our immediate reaction is shock. But instead of reacting, what if we paused? What if we deliberately sought out an alternative perspective? This is not about blind skepticism, it's about intellectual rigor, about developing the habit of critical thought. We are creatures of habit. Repetition forms belief. The question is, are you simply repeating what you've been told? Are you following the same routine without questioning it? Are you trusting the same voices without seeking alternatives? If you're a parent, are you raising your children to think critically or are they merely absorbing the conditioning of society? We have been programmed to not question anything, but now is the time to dismantle that programming. I often write about this because I was fortunate. I grew up with the freedom to question everything. And in hindsight, the ability has paid off more than anything else. Nevertheless, as I write in my book, I still got programmed when I lived in the same city for 27 years and slowly merged into the mold needed to survive and thrive within that environment. This applies just as much to money as it does to ideology. What were you told money is? A government issued note, a measure of wealth, a tool for stability? But now, after years of inquiry, it's clear money has been an illusion. It has been the invisible mechanism of control, funding indoctrination, influencing education, steering political agendas. Corrupt systems do not sustain themselves without financial backing. The fiat system has been the engine driving these illusions for over a century. Just as you must question narratives, you must question what you value, literally. Money dictates the direction of civilization. If you haven't examined what it is, you haven't yet questioned the full extent of the world's deception. This is why the zero-degree areas point matters. It is not just about astrology, it's about resetting our perception of reality, about seeing things as they truly are, not as we have been conditioned to see them. It is about making choices not based on past illusions, but on a future grounded in clarity and truth. The old world is dissolving. Will you step into the new? Ding dong! First principles in the direction of spirit. At the core of everything, we must return to first principles because without them, we get lost in ideological noise. 1. Value is subjective. What you consider important today depends on where you are, what you ate, what you're thinking, and how you feel. There is no universal fixed value for anything. Value is determined by the individual in the moment through experience and is based on the individual's needs. 2. Every decision is an economic decision. Even if you say you don't care about money because money is evil or money doesn't matter, you're still making a decision about its role in your life. Choosing to reject money is still a choice with economic consequences. 3. Personal responsibility is everything. Proof of work. The life you live is shaped by the decisions you make. No institution, no government, no ideology will ever absolve you of the reality that you are responsible for the consequences of your own choices. If you want to understand the world today, truly understand it, you need to study the history of money because everything unfolding now, everything being revealed, all of the systematic corruption and deception, it is not new. These mechanisms have been in place for over a century, and whether we knew it or not, we have been unknowingly supporting them. By operating within a system designed to enslave us through debt, by believing in a monetary structure that strips us of sovereignty, we have participated in our own subjugation. This is the root of it all. Which brings us to today's North Node Neptune conjunction, a moment that will not repeat. The North Node will not return to Neptune. Neptune is not going back to this point. This is a rare, singular alignment. It presents a spiritual directive, an opportunity to decide the trajectory of your consciousness. Ask yourself, where are you spearheaded? Do you want to align with something greater, something beyond yourself, your conditioned beliefs, your inherited fears? Or do you still want to be led by external narratives, institutions, and ideologies that have dictated your reality? Because here's the truth. If you're still operating under someone else's doctrine, you're not free. No matter how much you convince yourself otherwise, as long as your worldview is dictated by external forces, you're a subject of another's will. And if you accept that, then that is your choice. But for those who seek to break free, this is the moment to step beyond illusion and reclaim the ability to think, act, and value independently. A full moon in Leo is coming. I may write about it separately, but today this needed to be said. The world will be cloned unless you choose to see beyond the mirage. If the world is cloned, it means human action ceases to exist. Clones do not act, they repeat. They do not choose, they obey. They have no responsibility because they lack autonomy. They have no authenticity because they do not create, only imitate. They have no authority because they do not govern themselves, they are governed. A cloned world is a world without sovereignty, without free will, without agency. Borges' Tlön Ukbar Orbis Tertius is not just a story, it is a warning. When ideology overtakes reality, when narratives replace truth, when people stop questioning and simply accept, the world is no longer real. It is an imitation, a copy, a script written by someone else. And the worst part, those trapped within don't even realize they're clones. If we do not break free from ideological mirage, we will live in a world that is not real, but merely a copy of someone else's fiction. Ding dong! The outrage over rapid change and the power of perception. The outrage we're seeing right now, especially in response to the rapid and definite actions of the new administration in the United States, is revealing. It forces us to reflect on how we relate to information, how we process economic reality, and whether we even understand the mechanics of money itself. For some, like me, this moment is necessary. We need transparency. We need to be absolutely clear about where the money is going, especially when we know that the system is built on inflation, creating money out of thin air and debasing real value over time. But if someone has never studied the history of money, the fiat system, or the mechanisms of inflation, they're more likely to believe that the past 12 years plus of democratic economic policies have been beneficial and therefore see these rapid shifts as outrageous. But this isn't about red, blue, or any other color. The real question is, have you been relating to data and economic reality since 2008? Let me remind you, 2008 was an economic disaster. Banks were bailed out instantly while everybody suffered. That moment revealed the deep flaws in the financial system, yet most people moved on without questioning it. If you want to understand exactly how we got here, I highly recommend reading The Big Print by Lawrence Lepard. See the video below. I started reading it yesterday and it lays out everything you need to know. If you don't understand money, you don't understand the world. Ding dong!
Hey everyone, this is Monica. Hi. So, starting next week, we're gonna do a live session once a month. Yes. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin, spirituality, and everything in the middle. Consciousness, astrology, so many things. Economy, politics, we're gonna try to make sense of this craziness. Crazy world. So jump on and we'll put the details soon. Make sure to follow both Monica and myself, and we'll let you know when that happens. Great. See you then.
Efrat and Monica going live. Save the date, Wednesday, February 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central European Time, 8 p.m. Israel. This is going to be so much fun. Stay tuned. So, the announcement, I'm making an announcement. I'm thrilled to announce that I team up with my good friend Efrat for a monthly live stream starting February 12th. We'll be diving into the topics like Austrian economics and its principles, Bitcoin and sovereignty, politics and power structures, astrology and cycles of change, and most importantly, questioning reality itself. Because let's be honest, none of this makes sense anymore. And that's exactly why we need to keep the inquiry open to make sense of it together. One thing I've been reflecting on, we are at the end of social and legacy media as we know it. What's emerging isn't just a shift in platforms, it's a shift in how we engage with information. Passive consumption is dying. The future is about deep questioning, relational intelligence, and real dialogue. Mark my words, by February 26, when Saturn and Neptune meet at 1 degrees of Aries, social and legacy media as we know them will be gone. The collapse has already begun. Join us on this journey starting next week. Let's rethink, reframe, and rebuild. Live. Footnotes. So I'm leaving a video of Preston Pish and Lawrence Lepard. They're talking about some money is the solution. I think, you'll be interested. Okay, my peeps, I hope you enjoy what's going on. It seems a shit show, but it is not. So be kind, Be grateful, be humble, be honest, be generous, be exceptional, and mostly live a life with discernment. See you later, alligator.